Hello.
Oh, yeah. I was yawning.
So, before we start today's video, here's a new segment called Bad Decision of the Week. I think Carly's tops the scale. You know what I'm gonna make you tell.
Oh no. Shall I begin?
Yes.
So there was So a mom cat, is this what you want me to tell?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Your events yesterday.
So there was a mom cat in my backyard, because my backyard's all fenced in and stuff. And she had kittens back there. Well, the kittens have to, 3 kittens. And they're at least like a month or 2 old. And so I went outside yesterday and decided to try to make friends with them. And I picked one up and it mauled me.
How did you make the trap?
Oh, so I took a cage, like the top off of a guinea pig cage that was wire, and I set it up, like, you know how you put a box, you put a stick under it and you tie it, you tie a rope to it and then you pull it like you see in the cartoons. Well, I did that, but with a cage, and I tied a string to it, and I held it up with a fork because the stick wouldn't work. So the cage was sitting like in between the prongs of the fork. And I put a piece of bologna in there, and the cat went under the cage, and I was standing inside of my house where it wouldn't see me with the string. And then it went in there, and I pulled the string, and I caught the kitten, and I went to pick him up, and he was all cute and being nice, and he was like, "What's going on?" And then he freaked out, and I don't know if you can tell that my hand is bruised right here.
Kinda.
It bit my finger, and then I got like scratches. You can't really tell anymore, but I've got scratches on my other hand, but this one's the worst. You can see the bruising.
She called me, she FaceTimed me when I was on the way home, and it was just like, we usually tell each other when we're gonna call, because like usually we only call each other out of the blue when something horrible has happened. So I was like, oh my god, what happened? And I answer it, and it's just a cat in a towel looking at me, and I was like, Carly, and she was like, what do I do now? You're like, I didn't think this far ahead.
Well, I thought I could catch all of them because they were like plenty old enough to not need their mom. Because they're pretty big kittens at this point.
Yeah.
And then I thought maybe I could make friends with the mom, and then I could find a home for all of them, but it just kind of didn't work out like that. Oops.
And now they're just gonna be backyard kitties.
Yep.
So my bad decision was, I don't know if you can tell, but my hair is not the same color that it was last time you seen me. I've decided I want to dye my hair I was saying it right. Silver. I want to dye it silver again, but like leave the brown. So I got, I did it probably the way you're not supposed to. I took baking soda, 20 volume developer, dish soap, and purple shampoo, and I mixed it all together in a big bowl. And I mean, it really did lighten my hair. It's like blonde now. But the problem is it's still pink up here and it won't come out, and I don't know what to do. So I don't know if I'm gonna like, if I put like the silver dye over it, if it's just gonna turn neon pink like it did last time.
I don't know.
I don't know either, but we'll see, because I'm gonna do it like sometime next week. My hair's actually getting like really long again.
She came to this realization today when I was taking pictures of her from behind. Not in a creepy way.
Icky.
Oh, but she saw a picture of her like in front of me, and she was like, my hair is really long.
But that's our bad decisions of the week. If you've made a bad decision this week, let us know in the comments, because it'll probably make us feel better about ourselves. But today is a new serial killer monthly, and this one's messed up. So I'm gonna tell you right now, if you don't like icky things like murder and blood and just nasty, nasty, nasty things, go
Like, really bad.
Go find a different video. Like, it's not good, but like, if you have a weak stomach, this is not the video for you. So you need to click out of this right now if you are not comfortable with any of that. We'll see how it goes. Also, I got a new phone case. I just want to show it off real quick. It's really cool. It's moons. I don't even know if it'll focus because of the light. But like, I like it. Anyway.
Okay, so did we even say who we were doing yet? No.
No.
So I should read the top. Okay, so our serial killer of the month is Ed Gein. And if you know the story of Ed Gein, you're probably like, oh no. Ed's early life, he was born on August 27th, 1906 in La Crosse, Wisconsin. He was the second of 2 boys, and his parents are George Philip Gein and Augusta Wilhelmine Gein.
Yeah.
Augusta Wilhelmine Gein. His older brother was Henry George Gein, and Augusta, his mom, was an extremely religious Lutheran and preached to her kids constantly. She would talk about the immortality of the world and the evil of drinking, and her belief was that all women, but not herself, were naturally promiscuous and instruments of the devil.
So like, I'm pretty sure she means that like every woman is a whore. Except for her.
You said that with your throat so hard.
I know.
Every afternoon, she would set aside time to read her kids the Bible. Verses would be from the Old Testament and the Book of Revelation.
So if you don't know like what the Book of Revelation is, it's like the end times of the world. Like how the world is going to end and Jesus comes back and stuff like that.
This included death, murder, and divine retribution. Divine retribution is a supernatural punishment of a person, a group of people, or everyone by a deity in response to some action. Her husband was an alcoholic and she hated him. He wasn't able to keep a job. He worked as a carpenter, a tanner, and an insurance salesman. In La Crosse, he owned a local grocery store. He ended up selling it and moved to Plainfield, Wisconsin. They moved into an isolated 155-acre farm and it became their permanent home. Augusta liked it because she was able to keep bad influences away from her sons. They were only allowed to leave the farm to go to school. And when Ed wasn't in school, he spent time doing chores on the farm. He was a shy kid, and his teachers and classmates remember him doing strange things like randomly laughing to himself. He was punished by his mom every time he tried to make friends. He did fairly good in school, and his strongest subject was reading.
His mom was a little loco for that. Very, very overprotective and...
like, you don't need anything but God and me.
Pretty much. Like, what the heck? Do you want to see more of this? Straw.
Right in the eye.
Or this. But on my Sims.
No.
But not this.
You're not gonna get naked. It is not an OnlyFans.
I would love to see you over at Patreon. We have a Patreon account that the link is in the description. You can go to it and subscribe and see all of this bonus content, Q&As, lives, bonus pictures, bonus footage, blooper reels, death.
My back.
All of that and more. So if you want to get to know us on more of a personal level, I don't know why you would, because we're kind of chaotic, but starting at $3 a month, you can come and support us. The support helps us with things like buying new equipment, going out and making more content for you guys. So the support is very much appreciated, and I thank all of you who have or are going to subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you over there.
Yeah.
Brought to you by viewers like you. Thank you. We're getting to where everyone starts dying in his life. On April 1st, 1940, his dad, George, died of a heart attack. Heart failure, heart attack. I don't know for sure what it was because a lot of websites said heart failure or heart attack. I don't know. But he was only 66 years old. Back then, was that a reasonable age to die? I don't think so. I think that was young. Because of the death, Henry and Ed had to start doing odd jobs around town. The community members thought that they were honest and reliable. They were hardworking people. Ed enjoyed babysitting because he thought that he related more to the kids than to the adults. Henry started dating a divorced mom of 2, and he was going to move in with her. And at this point, Henry just did not like their mom. He was very put off by her. He would constantly like badmouth her whenever Ed was around. And Ed was very close to his mom, so Ed really took it to heart, and it really upset him every time his brother started talking like that. On May 16th, 1944, both of the brothers, they were having a fire on their property. They were burning some brush. The fire got out of control, and they had to call the fire department. But the fire did get put out by the end of the day. After the fire department had left, Ed had realized, where is Henry? Ed reported Henry missing to the police department, and he formed a search party. By the time police got there, Ed led them right to Henry's body. And this was at night, so they had lanterns and flashlights out, and police just found it kind of odd that when they got there, Ed went right to there instead of like looking around a little bit, but they didn't think much of it. They found Henry laying face down on the ground, and he was burned. They said that he had been dead for some time, but I couldn't find when exactly he went missing during the day. It just seems like he kind of disappeared, if you're picking up what I'm putting down. Foul play was dismissed.
The final cause of death was ruled as asphyxiation.
There was no investigation and no autopsy, which was kind of really odd that they didn't, especially because later a biographer, Harold Schechter, reported that Henry actually had bruises on his head. So the fact that they didn't do any kind of investigation, any kind of autopsy to figure it out, like they just assumed that he died from inhaling too much smoke, which, I don't know. I would have been a little bit suspicious. Down the road, Ed was questioned about it, but he didn't really confirm or deny that he did it. A man who studied the case, George W. Arndt, wrote that it was possible and likely that Henry's death was the Cain and Abel aspect of this case. So if you don't know who Cain and Abel are, they were people in the Bible.
Brothers.
Yeah, and one brother was favored more than the other, and one brother ended up murdering the other. And then at this point, the only one left in Ed's life was Augusta, and I think that's what he wanted all along. Like, I think he wanted it to just be those two together. Shortly after Henry died, she had a stroke and it left her paralyzed, which ultimately Ed devoted his entire life to taking care of her and making sure that, you know, she was okay. In 1945, him and his mom went to a part of town, to a farmhouse, and they were going to buy some straw from this guy named Smith. But when they got there, Smith was beating a dog very violently. And a woman came outside of Smith's house and started yelling at him to stop, but Smith beat the dog to death. Augusta was left very upset by this, but later that night she said that she was upset because the woman at Smith's house, they were not married. Quote, she said, had no business being there, and she called the woman Smith's harlot. What does harlot mean?
Like a whore.
A whore! A whore. Shortly after that, she had another stroke, and after that her health just got worse and worse, and it severely started declining. On December 29th, 1945, she died, and she was 67 years old. And as you can imagine, Ed was completely devastated because he made that woman his entire world. He didn't know life outside of her from the second he was born. Harold Schechter said he had lost his only friend and one true love, and he was absolutely alone in the world. I mean, that is kind of sad, like the only person you know is your mom, but she was the reason for that.
I was just scratching my eye, and I feel like people were gonna think I was crying. I was just scratching my eye. I sat there for entirely too long. Buffering. Ed's working life. He kept working on the farm and doing odd jobs around the community, He boarded up the rooms, all the rooms that his mother used, which was the upstairs, downstairs, parlor, and living room, and all of those rooms were left in pristine condition because he didn't want to touch them, because that's how his mother left them when she died. He left the rest of the house rotting away. He started reading pulp magazines and adventure stories, especially ones involving cannibals, and he also loved anatomy books. In 1951, he received a farm subsidy from the federal government. Between 1946 and 1956, he sold an 80-acre piece of land that him and Henry had owned. Bernice Warden. Am I saying that correctly?
Yes.
Bernice was a Plainfield hardware store owner, and in the morning of November 16, 1957, she disappeared. A Plainfield resident reported that the hardware store's truck had been driven out from behind the building at 9:30 a.m. There weren't many customers that day, and Bernice's son, Deputy Sheriff Frank Warden, went to the store around 5 p.m. The store's cash register was open and there was bloodstains on the floor leading out the back. During the investigation, Frank said on the evening before his mother's disappearance, Gein had been in the store and that he was to have returned the next morning for a gallon of antifreeze. A sales slip for a gallon of antifreeze was the last receipt written by Bernice on the morning that she disappeared. That evening, Gein was arrested at a West Plainfield grocery store. The Waushara County Sheriff's Department searched the Gein family farm.
This is Maybe It's Spiritual, a podcast about the supernatural, the paranormal, and the unexplained. From ghosts to aliens, demons, and beyond, we are a place where you can share your story without being told you're crazy. Join us as we descend into the uncharted territory of the multidimensional world around us and discuss the effects it has on our daily lives. Listen to stories of individuals who have experienced things they cannot explain, whether they've tucked it away in their minds or turned it into an interesting party story. We dive deep into these experiences and ask the questions too seldom asked. What do you think it was? What does it mean? And what would you say to someone who's experienced something similar? We ask these questions to uncover the truth, and most importantly, to let people know that they are not alone. Most of us here have seen something at least a little weird. On our show, we've talked about haunted houses, deities from ancient folklore, skinwalkers, and even tiny mystical beings that have invaded your home. No matter what corner of the paranormal you've experienced, on Maybe It's Spiritual, we want to hear your side of the story. And remember, when the going gets weird, the weird start a podcast.
Those who did not listen, if you don't like gory, icky things, this is your time to click out of the video and go find a different one.
We won't be mad. You can leave.
It's
fine.
Gonna get bad. So be warned if you stay.
If you're eating, you might want to not.
Yeah, absolutely not. Weak stomachs, don't watch this. Bernice's body was found decapitated in a shed on the property. She was hung upside down by her legs with a crossbar at her ankles and ropes at her wrists. She had been gutted like a deer and shot with a .22 caliber rifle. The house was searched. Authorities found whole human bones and fragments, a wastebasket made of human skin covering several chair seats, skulls on the bedposts, female skulls with the tops sawn off, bowls made from human skulls, a corset made from a female torso, leggings made from human skin, masks made from the skin of female heads, Mary Hogan's face mask in a paper bag, Mary Hogan's skull in a box, Bernice's head in a burlap sack, Bernice's heart in a plastic bag in front of the stove, 9 vulvae in a shoebox, 2 vulvas of 2 females judged to be about 15, a belt made from female human nipples, 4 noses, a pair of lips on a window shade drawstring, a lampshade made from the skin of a human face, and fingernails from female fingers.
Okay, the questioning. Gein told investigators that between 1947 and 1952, he made many night visits to 3 local graveyards. He would exhume recently buried bodies while in a daze-like trance. On about 30 of his visits, he would come out of it while in the cemetery, leave, and go home with nothing. On 10 other occasions, he would dig up the graves of recently buried middle-aged women that he thought looked like his mom, and he would take those bodies home. He admitted to stealing from 9 graves. He took investigators to the locations. He would rob the graves soon after funerals when the full burial process wasn't done. Authorities were uncertain that Gein was actually capable of digging up graves on his own. They did a test exhuming 2 graves and found evidence that he actually did it. Soon after his mom died, he started to make a woman suit. A woman suit. So he could become his mother and literally crawl into her skin. And then, when he made the woman suit, he would crawl into his skin to become his mother and dance in the moonlight. He denied having sex with any of the bodies because he said they smelled too bad.
But he wouldn't have sex with them.
But he'd wear them.
He would wear them.
And decorate his house.
How? It would still smell.
I don't know.
Like, just think of the stench in that house.
I'm good. Can you imagine investigators walking in there and be like, can I be changed to another case, please? He admitted to shooting Mary Hogan. She owned a tavern and had been missing since 1954. He denied memory of the details of her death, and he was also considered a suspect in several other unsolved cases in Wisconsin, including the 1953 disappearance of Evelyn Hartley. During questioning, Art Schley, a Washara County sheriff, reportedly assaulted Gein. He banged his head and face into a brick wall. Gein's initial confession was ruled inadmissible. In 1968, Schley died of heart failure at age 43 before Gein's trial. People who knew Schley said he was traumatized by the horror of Gein's crimes. One of his friends said he was a victim of Ed Gein as surely as if he had butchered him.
Hey, Jam.
Hey, Tim.
Would you like to hear a serial killer not so fun fact?
Sure.
So one that I found was Ed Gein's property was appraised at $4,700. His possessions were going to be auctioned in 1958 on March 30th. On March 20th, 10 days before then, the house was destroyed by a fire. Arson was suspected because the cause of the fire was never found. When Gein found out, he shrugged and said, "Just as well."
Oh. Where you set your phone, the sun hit you right in the eyeballs. Hi, Tim.
Hey, Jim.
What? Hey, Jim.
Come to these parts often.
You sure do got a pretty mouth. I'll make some curtains.
Come here, pretty boy.
Would you like to hear a serial killer not so fun fact?
Heck yeah.
Alfred Hitchcock based the movie Psycho on Ed Gein and his relationship with his mother.
That is sure freaking interesting.
Yep, it was. Oh, my leg's asleep.
And now we've reached our final part to the trial. On November 21st, 1957, Gein was arraigned on 1 count of first-degree murder in Washara County. He pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity. The insanity defense means the defendant is not responsible for their actions due to a psychiatric disease at the time of the criminal act. He's saying he was not in control of his actions and he wasn't aware of what he was doing at the time that he was doing it. He was diagnosed with schizophrenia and found mentally incompetent. And that means you are unfit for trial. The trial did not happen yet. He got sent to the Central State Hospital for the Criminally Insane in Waupun, Wisconsin. And it's now the Dodge Correctional Institution. Later, he was transferred to the Mendota State Hospital in Madison, Wisconsin. 11 years later, in 1968, the doctors said that he was mentally stable enough to stand trial. On November 7th, 1968, the trial started. It only lasted 1 week. A psychiatrist testified that Gein had said he didn't know whether the killing of Bernice was intentional or accidental. He said he was examining a gun in the store and the gun went off, killing Bernice. After he tried to load the bullet into the rifle, it went off. He didn't aim the rifle at her and he didn't remember anything else that happened that morning. The trial was held without a jury, and that was a defendant request, probably because he would have actually gotten like a prison sentence. Maybe, possibly. On November 14th, he was found guilty. There was a second trial to deal with his sanity after. He was ruled not guilty by reason of insanity, and he was committed to the Central State Hospital for the Criminally Insane. He spent the rest of his life in a mental institution. Judge Robert H. Goldmer wrote, "Due to prohibitive costs, Gein was tried for only one murder, that of Mrs. Warden. He also admitted to killing Mary Hogan." On July 26, 1984, he died due to respiratory failure secondary to lung cancer. He died at the Mendota State Hospital. He's buried at the Plainfield Cemetery in Wisconsin, but he doesn't have a headstone because people kept taking chunks of it and then someone just took the whole headstone. They found it in Seattle and they were like, let's just put this into storage because it's gonna keep happening. But he's buried between his brother and his parents. So there's no marker, but that's how you can tell. That was Ed Gein for the Serial Killer Monthly. I hope you enjoyed watching. If you made it this far, I hope your tummy doesn't hurt too bad. That was a lot. That was probably the most graphic one that we have done yet. The next serial killer that we're doing has at least 5 confirmed murders. There could possibly be quite many more.
Quite many more.
Quite many.
And the murders took place in San Francisco.
So like and comment, subscribe if you liked this. There are other Serial Killer Monthly videos that you can check out in a playlist. We've done Ted Bundy, Eileen Warnos,
Joe Matheny,
Joseph Miller. I think that's all we've done. I think we've only done 4.
I was like,
January, February, March, April. Yeah, we've only done 4 so far. But if you want to see those, check those out. Let us know what you think. We'll see you next time for another rendition of, I don't know.
I don't know where I was going with this.
I don't know. But okay, bye. Spirit fingers.
Shut it off. I'm leaving.